All right, well, here we go on our first tutorial on how to use your Mac, and we'll see how this goes. And we're going to start with Aperture today because I know that you want to start on those photos from Grandma's Big Party. And we're not ready to jump into video editing just yet. So let's just start at Aperture, and let's open up the program. First things first, we're going to look over here where it says projects and at all these little bins here. You're not going to have any of these yet because you don't have any photos. So it's going to look a little bit differently, but it's all going to work the same. So what you want to do in the beginning here to start is just go up here and click new, and you'll see project and album, smart album, and all these other things. Really, the main one you're going to want to use here is project. And notice that they do have the shortcuts there available as well. You can do Command N for new project, but you can always just click that there and go and click it. And here it comes right there, untitled project it says. But go ahead and add in whatever the name is. Maybe yours would be Grandma's 75th birthday party. I'm going to go ahead and say UM Hoops for me because that'll just be the album that I import. Press enter, the name is there, and it's still empty. So next we would like to import the photos. So what you can do is go right up here to import. If you click that, it says local files, which means any files that are locally held on your computer. And over here you'll have something that looks kind of like your Finder window. It works the exact same. It's basically looking into your hard drive and seeing what is on there. It should have your pictures folder here. If not, yours right here will say Linda, and you can go through there and then down to your pictures or just to pictures, whichever is fine. You'll have no other subfolders there, whereas I have a lot of subfolders. We'll work on organizing those maybe some other time, but for me, I've got my sets folder here from 2011, and I'm just going to use these photos from the Michigan basketball game. Currently, none are highlighted, and I can go down to import all, and since none of them are highlighted, it'll assume all of them are going to go in. If you only have, let's say, one or two highlighted, notice down here at the bottom right, it says import one image. So you either need to have all or none selected, or just the few that you want to import selected. But if you accidentally only import one, that would be why. You've only got one highlighted. But if we want to select all of them, go ahead and shift click the last one. So if you had one highlighted, shift click the last one, it'll select all of those. Another quick shortcut you could use is select all is Command A, and that will choose all of the photos. Now once you have them here, you can either click this button over here on the bottom right that says import all, or there's this little arrow right here that will put them right into the folder. One thing to look out for as well is that if you have a different project highlighted, this little arrow will move, so you could accidentally import all of these photos into the wrong folder if you're not careful. So you do want to watch for that and make sure that it is going to point right into there. And maybe it's best that you use the arrow just so you can double check before you do import. And then all you have to do is click that little arrow, and voila, it's going. You'll see a little, it went very, very quickly, but there was a little stopwatch thing going over here showing you all the photos going in there. It's going to give you a little warning saying your photos have been imported. You can click OK. And here we go. They're all there. We still do have this little arrow thing here, so let's just get rid of it by going up here and clicking on the X. And it's gone. So here we go. We have our new project highlighted, and here are all of our photos. You'll also notice right down here, if you can see this, there's this little guy that says previews, and it's got this little dial moving. And that went really quickly because these files are low res, but when you upload new photos from your camera, it will take a lot longer than that, and that's just because they're larger files, and this program does want to create previews so that it can show these quickly. There's some major things I want to go over the program just and how to use it before we actually get into adjustments. So let's start over here where there are 3 tabs. The first one we were using right here was this projects, but there's also one called metadata. And metadata is all the information about your photo that's captured when that photo is taken. This photo and this whole gallery actually will not have the same information because I've already exported them and they no longer maintain that information. But when you upload from your camera, the camera is going to record all of this and you're going to have all of this information. In fact, I can actually go to, let's say, this folder here, and if I go to this metadata, here's what it'll look like. It'll show you the exact time and date that the photo was taken, your statistics that you used to take the photo, so your aperture, like here is f4, my shutter speed is 2000, exposure bias, my ISO, even my focal length is all there. It'll tell you even the lens that you used, the size of it, and here's the file name and the file size. It'll tell you the camera that you used to do it, and it does even mention the project here. This isn't super important for you, but it is nice to have that as a reference if you did want to go back and see maybe if your settings were incorrect or why they were blurry. You could always go back here and see, well, maybe my shutter speed was too slow or whatever. Or maybe the photo's grainy because your ISO is too high. So it is really nice to be able to look through this, and it at times will be very important. There's no adjustments to do here though, so I wouldn't worry about it too much right now. It's just good for reference. All the adjustments are going to happen on this 3rd tab over here, under adjustments of course. And here we've got a lot of things to play with. I'm going to skip over this right now because we'll do a separate tutorial just on how to do the adjustments on the photo, but I did want to show you that this is where you do all of your adjustments and help the exposure and all of these other things that we want to do with our photo. So let's go back to the projects pane for now, and I'm going to go back to my project Hoops because that's what we're working with. Looking back over all of this now, where the photo is and all that, right now we've got a little film strip of photos below, and we've got a larger version of one of the photos here. And if I use my arrow keys on my keyboard, I can shuffle through by pressing right and left. And there's all the photos. And the first thing we want to look at here is the different views that are available in Aperture. One thing you can always do is you can double click on the photo and it'll zoom in there. If I double click back again, it'll go back to this view. Now there's actually 3 views though, and the way to shuffle through the views is by pressing the letter V. So if I press V, here's the largest view, another V, and this is the view of the thumbnails, and hit V again and we're back to our film strip view. Let's go to the thumbnail view now, and we can see all of our photos here. If we go to the bottom right, it'll allow us to adjust the size of our thumbnail. So here's the smallest, but if I move it all the way over, we can get our thumbnails much larger. And with smaller batches of photos, this is really nice to be able to see the photos this big. Which view you want to use is entirely up to you, but it's good to know that it's very easy to switch between the 3 just by pressing V. And you can find your own sizes and view that you prefer best. Totally up to you. One small thing I would like to show you here is that if you're cycling through your photos with your arrow keys, here I'm pressing the right key, that's great, and you can go back with the left. But you have to also know that if you press down or up, it will actually jump through the photos. Notice that given this view, the up and down arrows will actually jump through. So if you are in your largest view and you're going through right, then it's actually going to go through in succession through all the photos. If you accidentally hit the down key, you are going to end up skipping photos. So you want to be careful of that because you could end up skipping through photos that you didn't mean to skip because you accidentally pressed the down key and thought you were just moving over one photo when you're actually skipping anywhere from 3 to 10 photos depending on your view. Because you see, if you switch it down to the small thumbnail view and you go right and left here, you're going through, but if you press up and down, see, you'd be skipping all those photos, and that happens even in the zoomed in view, so be careful about that. There's some other little things that we could do here too. These little buttons down here on the bottom left, let's go to our film strip view to do this, just so we can see that we're on this photo. There's other ones available, and these have moved just a little bit, but if I click this button right here, it's going to send that and rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise, and do it again and again. So it's nice to be able to do that. We do have some other crop buttons and things like that here. We're not going to go over all of those right now. I don't think too many of them are going to be very useful. We'll go over all the major adjustments in the next video. One other small thing I will show right now that I think is just good for the basic overview are the ones up here. And this view right here is the same way as is the same thing as the V button here. We can switch through a view. Without V, we can just click up here. It's fine. V is much faster. If you want full screen, what this does is it will move your entire photo to the full screen, and you can still go through like this, but now it is all full screen. So to get out of that, let's press Escape. So Escape to get out of your full screen view there. This next one is also useful. We'll skip keywords. That's not going to be too important for you right now, but we can use the loop, and the loop can be nice. So let's zoom in on a photo here real quick. And let's click on the loop button. And what you'll see is you'll get this little magnifying glass, and that's called a loop. And you can really zoom in on the photos and see if your photo is sharp or if there's some grain or whatever you're looking for. It's nice to have this. A little adjustment you can do here is there's a little 100 and this highlights. If you click on that, you can then switch it to 200% and zoom in even more. Switch it to even greater percents to really look at it. And there's also a focus on loop or focus on cursor. If you focus on cursor, notice that the loop will show wherever your cursor is. I don't really like this view personally. I like to use the loop, but it's up to everyone, you know, to each their own. But my recommendation would be to keep it on focus on loop. To get rid of it, you can either click on loop here, or there is a shortcut for all this. You can just press the tilde key, which is that top left key right under the escape button. And that is the shortcut to get this loop up and down. So I can quickly look through all of these photos. If you are in the loop view, it will not let you cycle through the photos. You've got to move your loop. Oh, no, that's not true, actually. I think that just clicked out of there. Okay, so if I keep the loop on there, got this dunk here, nice shot, whatever. I actually can cycle through with the loop. And let's put it back to 100% because that's too big of a zoom. And you can keep that loop on there if you really wanted to. I think it's somewhat useful, but I wouldn't go crazy with it. Have as much fun with it as you want. It's there for it. Other than that, I think for this tutorial, that is about it. That's how you're going to upload your photos. You're going to keep them right here in your project, and each time you're going to want to do a new project. Actually, there will be one more thing I'll show you here. Let's do one more new project. And instead of actually going up here to new project, I'm just going to hit Command N, and you'll see it hops up right up there. So let's put Hoops 2, and I'll just grab a different folder here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my Finder here. Click on Finder. And I'm going to go into my Dustin Johnston folder for UB Linda. I'm going to go to my pictures, my sets, and 2011. And I'm going to go to, let's see here. This is just a separate little folder I have here. And these are some other photos from the same game. And I just want to show that what's also great about Aperture, since it is a Mac program, you can just take this whole folder and you don't need to do this whole other import setting. You can just take this folder here, grab it, drag it over, and you'll notice that once I put it right over this bin, I get this little green dot with a plus in the middle, and that is showing me that I can add it there. It's saying go ahead and do this if you want to. We can read this and we'll put all the photos in that folder. So I'm just going to go ahead and let go of the mouse here and drop it in, and voila, all of those photos, all 12 of them, have now been imported. So you can absolutely go here and go import and do it this way. But if you've got your Finder window open and you just want to drag and drop, that's easy and great as well. It all works the same. So another little shortcut for you here. And that should be a great overview of the beginning of Aperture. Hope that is helpful.